escaping the realm of darkness. The paranormal guys are on a quest to find the answers to the hard questions of where the normal meets the paranormal and the weird, and where the natural meets the unnatural. So grab your holy water, call your mama, and get ready for the Paranormal Guys podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the Paranormal Guys podcast. My name is Neil Gibbons, and my co-host here with me tonight is...
Steve Lineweber.
Yes, he is. He is that man. Today's date is January 21st, 2023. This episode will be coming out on 3/9/2023. And today's episode, we are going to be talking about haunted dolls. Haunted dolls, haunted objects. I find this subject to be a very interesting subject, how somehow or another some of these dolls or objects could get possessed by people who died, or maybe curses. We are going to be bringing in a lady by the name of Pocos Blackhorn, who is going to be trying to help us understand about what truly happens with haunted dolls or haunted objects today. But until then, Steve, what's going on? Anything new in the world?
No, but I don't have any haunted dolls with me for today's episode, but I think you have all of our haunted dolls.
Yes, I have the haunted dolls. Just so everybody knows, we do ghost tours throughout the South Chicagoland area, and we actually have a haunted, what we believe possibly a haunted doll. And let me explain why we think it is. Originally, I bought this doll from some store, like a secondhand store. I bought it just as a prop. Okay, and I buy a lot of dolls to use on the bus as props. We have the Raggedy Ann doll that kind of look like the Annabelle doll, so people can go, "Oh my God!" When it's just the shock and awe factor. But what's odd about it is we had a lady who came on the bus, and I was presenting this doll as it being possibly haunted, because me and my wife started noticing that a lot of people gravitated towards this one doll. And we actually do not have a name on this doll. It's just a no-name doll. We haven't even given a name, and I don't know why we haven't. It's we just call it the no-name doll. Mm-hmm. And this doll here, people gravitate towards, and they get obsessed. Like a lot of people, they get obsessed with these haunted objects and haunted dolls. So me and my wife, when she's on the bus every single time, we've noticed that people gravitate to the no-name doll. Mm-hmm. And they decide to keep it on their lap, and they actually walk around with it when we get on and off the bus. So we had this lady who worked for a hospital, and she worked at a baby center inside the hospital where they give birth. I don't know the exact word. What happened was she really, really wanted this doll. And so I told her, well, we got to do this the right way. We're you're asking me, I'll give my name as ownership. I own it right now. And that you have to give me your name, saying that you now want to be the new owner. And we're going to do that so that it's understood that you are now the new owner of this no-name doll. Mm-hmm. So some time went by, about maybe a month and a half went by, Steve, as you know. And all of a sudden, my wife, through another person, got back the doll inside of a plastic bag. The plastic bag was from the hospital because they decided to put the doll in the plastic bag, like one of those laundry bags you get when you're discharged from a hospital. And so she gets this doll back, and she goes, "What is this?" She goes, "I know what it is. I remember this doll." And the lady who got it from the other lady, who originally wanted to get this from me, who decided to have ownership, she decided to give it back because she decided to bring this doll to the hospital. Which is weird. Number one, why would you a possibility of a possible haunted doll to a hospital?
And it's a maternity ward?
I don't know, maternity ward, child. I'm assuming yes.
All right, haunted doll with babies. Okay, around.
Right. So, so this lady, she goes and puts it inside a bag because they said that the thing was moving around. She doesn't want nothing to do with it. And some bad luck was happening her way. And she felt something was odd with it. So she wanted to give up ownership to it. So it was given back to us. And it was put back inside the bag, and it has not left the bag. And we keep it inside of a box inside my garage. And we take it out during the season. When I do it, I present to people that there is a truly haunted possibly a truly haunted doll on the bus, I leave it up on the shelf. And all the ones that are sitting on the seats and stuff, as you know, Steve, I let people go. They're not haunted.
Right. We have
We call it
several
for shock and
other
awe.
dolls on the bus
Yeah.
with this haunted doll.
But it's a possibility that this other one is. Then I say, we do have one that's a possibility, and I show it to everyone. And I tell them, if you want to go ahead, do not take it out of the bag, please, because supposedly it does move. Supposedly. So I give them the chance to go ahead and look at it. Some people decide to grab the bag and put it on their laps.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start to get this obsession with the doll.
All night long.
But it's like an all night long thing. And I make sure I take it home with me. I'll never give it to another individual again because I don't want to run into any problems or anything like that.
I think that doll might actually be haunted, Neil.
It might be. I mean, heck if I know. I'm not a psychic like that where I can find out, it's just. But the interesting thing is that we do have this kind of a thing, a possibility of this kind of thing on our bus, of all the other weird things that happen on the bus, like the faces in the windows and stuff like that during our tours. But other than that, so we're going to do haunted dolls today, Steve. And that's actually, have you ever been in a room where like clowns or anything like that, clown dolls?
No, but objects like a chair. When I was a little kid, my parents, I don't even remember this because I was so young. I was probably like 1 year old. But they told me that they would put me in this room and they'd go to bed and they'd hear something rocking.
Really?
And they'd come upstairs and the chair would be rocking. And but they didn't think anything of it. But they left me in there. And
I'd leave you too, dude. I would leave you in the room like
that. But the chair was just rocking by itself and the windows were closed and they couldn't explain what was happening. And but I did see that chair years later and it creeped me out. And I didn't know the story about being put in the room with it as a child. And then they told me that was the chair that would rock. And they sold it eventually at a garage sale. So they got rid of it.
I was once, my dad had his second wife, she lived in Moline, Illinois, and they had a clown room.
Mm-hmm.
Inside this room was nothing but pictures of clowns and these little dolls of clowns, and that's where I had to sleep for the weekend. Dude, I was like, oh my God. It's like you can't fall asleep. You keep waking up, and then sure enough, you think that these pictures are, like the eyes are following you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like this. I'm like, what the hell, man? And I'm like maybe like 8, 9 years old, and I'm in this little room, and it's nothing but clown pictures and clown dolls, and I had to stay there the whole weekend. I think it could be a little bit traumatizing towards someone, especially if you have a phobia of clowns, But that brings us into a little bit of our dolls. I just want to bring up some little dolls before we talk to Pocos about this. Let's bring up the Mandy doll. Supposedly, this is a very... they made a movie, I believe, in 2018 about this one. Meet Mandy, the haunted doll who is currently on display in the Queensel and District Museum in Canada. Mandy, a doll created sometime between the 1900 and 1920, was given to the museum by a donor who wished to remain anonymous. The donor had a chilling experience with the doll and wished to get rid of it without destroying whatever historic quality it possessed. One night, the donor was awoken by extremely loud cries, the cries of a baby that were echoing and radiating from the basement, where the doll had been left. Only one problem. A baby was not present in the house at the time, Steve. After hours of listening to shrieks, the donor finally mustered up the courage to sneak into the basement and examine the source of the cries. Upon arrival, they found nothing but an open window, and there laying there was Mandy, only to return the next morning. And this is supposedly the doll right here.
It's a composition doll, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think those are composition dolls. Those ones are a composition doll. I believe you're right. I mean, it looks innocent enough,
I've seen videos of dolls like this where their hands move up and down when they're sitting.
Once again, so when we bring the dolls on our bus, we also show videos on our bus about haunted dolls.
Right.
And we have composition dolls. We have, I believe you have a picture of Clyde the Clown.
We have Clyde the Clown
Yeah, this is a picture of.
Does this scare you?
No, it doesn't scare me. Actually, I actually kind of enjoy them.
Yeah.
As an adult, I appreciate them. It shows like a different era.
There was like a video on our bus of Clyde moving.
Yeah, so but that's. I don't know if someone speeds those up or what.
But why would it move?
They say because supposedly it's either someone dies traumatically,
right?
And they don't want to leave, so then and Pocos will help us along with this,
right?
Is that they go into the doll, the spirit or the essence of someone goes into the spirit of the body of this doll,
mm-hmm.
Either through that or sometimes these things, objects or dolls or pictures are cursed. Did you know back in the 1800s when how like take for instance people take at a wake they take a picture of the body, okay? Mm-hmm. Well, there's paintings of people back then because they didn't have photography yet, and what they would do is they would take they would actually do oil paintings, and some people believe that the baby ones, they say it looks really really creepy that
like
they would actually paint these
oil paintings of dead kids,
right, in coffins. Yeah, weird. Isn't that weird? But that was the way of the thinking, but was back then.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you have any ideas of any kind of haunted dolls?
What I'm curious about is, can a sex doll be haunted? They look like this.
Oh, dear Lord in heaven.
Yeah. And like, I was going to get you one for Christmas, but.
Well, as much as, my wife would really not appreciate it.
No, I wouldn't get you one of those, but like, if you will.
Are you saying, could there be something that.
Like a succubus. Could a succubus. All
right, you got to.
Could a succubus could a succubus possess a sex doll?
You bring up an excellent point. Yeah, well, it would be a succubus if it's a female doll, and it'd be an incubus if it was a male doll.
Right.
So, can that happen? In theory, I would say yes to that. But do we have any cases of that? I'm here. So let's do this.
Not yet.
If anybody knows of any sex dolls, and try not to be as vulgar, try not to be vulgar in the email that you're going to send me. Email Neal, Neal, at gravesideparanormal.com. That is our parent company. Or you could do it, since he brought up the subject,
I don't want it.
Steve, at gravesideparanormal.com, and send that in. If that would actually be an interesting story, because we're going to be doing an episode sometime soon of Hooky Spooky Stories, Steve. That would actually be an interesting story if that is a true story, if that was a possibility. That would be weird, man. That would be weird. Yeah.
I wouldn't talk about it if it happened.
I would talk about it. But I'll tell you what, I'll probably be back there again at the same bad time, same bad channel. I'll tell you that. So let's try to get off this subject.
I'm not going to get off on this subject. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, dear Lord. You see, I just set myself up.
It's a kid's show. Stop.
It's a kid's show. It's kids, PG-13. All right, let's get into the news, Steve. All right, the paranormal guys, weird news. Now, I seen this one. This actually comes from Coast to Coast listener. This is a photo that has been in my family for years, but was recently rediscovered. It was taken just after World War II in France. It is of my uncle who died in Korea a few years later and his girlfriend. If you look to the right of them, there are two legs. The closest one is transparent. If you zoom in, they are facing the other way of him and the dark colors. He is wearing white, so I don't think it's a double exposure. Now, the reason why I pulled this one up is, number one, because it's dated so way back to World War II. And it's dated back to World War II, so I don't know. I don't think it's a double exposure myself. Understand, I'm not an expert in photography. And especially in this day and age, there are so many good fakes. But we've come across ourselves shadow people or images of people just like this, especially in Archer Woods Cemetery. And that was just last October where we got a lot of photos of that. So I want to bring this up that way that our audience, you, the audience, can look at stuff like this and see the other kinds of things that are going on or did go on, and you make the decision in the end. Wouldn't you agree, Steve?
Right. And whether or not this is a faked photo, faked recently or faked in the past, I don't know. Could it be a double exposure? I don't know. But it looks eerily similar to the shadow people that we've caught.
Oh yeah, we've caught a lot of shadow people. You know, what's actually also odd is that man who's in that jacket. He actually looks like a Kennedy or something, doesn't he?
Uh, Kind of like I don't know. He kind of looks scary with all that dark around his eye. He kind of looks like maybe like
Oh,
like it looks like a skull for eyes, and then
oh.
the Kennedy face.
Yeah, maybe. You never know. I just thought I'd bring that up. Sorry.
Yeah. Maybe it is a Kennedy.
That's the first time when I first saw it. I thought that's what this story was going to be about, a Kennedy.
Right.
But it was more about the shadow person. What you got for us today, Steve?
Well, there's been an uptick in some UFO stuff going on recently.
Yeah.
First off, Russia shot down a ball UFO or spherical UFO recently, and they reported that. Guess this happened around the little activities they got going on with the Ukraine and stuff, but they saw a spherical UFO and shot that down. And there's been an uptick in sphere-like objects in the sky all over TikTok this last week. And I got a little compilation I put together to share with you. So this is what folks are seeing.
A sphere-shaped UFO was caught on camera in Washington, D.C. near two government helicopters. Limited information has been released about the incident, but I'll continue to report as details emerge.
The UFO or something, maybe.
So
Now, that last one, how do I know that's not a balloon? The reason why I say that is because the background that is blue and there's no
Right.
clouds or anything like that. So
Right.
you can't really tell if there's a speed or how far away it is, how high it is in the sky.
the
How do
guy
I
is
know
actually
that's not a
talking on the TikTok, but I took that out because I was also playing some music I think is copywritten, so I put in our own music there.
Oh, good.
But he's saying that the object's is in the sky. He doesn't see any strings holding it in place. It's just floating there. This could be a hoax. This could be all of these things could be maybe a coordinated hoax, because one of the easiest things is CGI is a sphere. That's what a lot of people are saying, is that it could be CGI. But this week, it's been reported a lot of these spheres have been seen in the skies, and not just in those clips, but several other clips. I'm not sure when, if by the time this episode airs, if there's going to be even more sightings, but I thought it was interesting enough to bring up. And it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you remember the story from, it was back in 1974. It's the Betts Mystery Sphere. And this was recovered in Fort George Island, Florida, again, back in 1974. It's a metal sphere that this family found. It weighs 8 pounds. They believe that there's radio frequency coming from it. And when they put it on like a tabletop, it'll roll around the table all the way to the edge, never falling off. And they believe that it is an alien artifact. However, the Navy, they said, no, it's just a metal ball. They actually
Here's my question. Pull up your picture again, please.
Yeah.
You said 1974, right?
Yeah.
Then why is it in black and white?
I don't know. They had maybe a lot of extra black and white film left from the 60s. I don't know. why it's
Well, the
in black and
60s
white.
had the 60s had color photos.
Yeah, I don't know why it's in black and white, but
So this is my point to that is,
yeah.
could it be that they're not doing color because maybe you can kind of figure out what that ball is? You know, it could be Uncle Bob's bowling ball for all we know.
It could be.
You know, he's got a lot of scratches all over it, like hit the bumpers. You know what I'm saying?
It could be. It looks
it's
about the
black and
size
white
of a
photo
bowling
in
ball.
1974.
Right. The kid is like pretty mesmerized by it, though.
Yeah, you want to know what he's doing right now? He's reading. This is Uncle Bud's ball on the other end.
It says
Uncle
12
Bud.
pounds. Uncle Bud.
10 pounds, Uncle Bud. I don't know.
I got
dude.
Uncle Bud's bowling ball.
Yeah, I would need some more proof on that one.
Yeah, but I just thought it looked a lot like these spherical objects. Whenever people are talking about seeing UAPs or UFOs that are spherical floating around, I always think back to that Bet's miracle sphere. And I was wondering, are those like an alien technology? Is it like a drone, like a scout going around?
Like a scout. You know, like you remember when they had like Star Wars and stuff like that? They had those
Yeah.
little scout things, Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is the nerd side of me coming out.
And-
What happens? We don't know. Those are like drone scouting things. We don't
Right.
know that. You know, I mean, it's a possibility. Anything's a possibility.
But an Occam's razor, right? It could just be that CGI, the easiest thing to generate is a ball, a sphere.
Yeah.
And then maybe all this is a hoax. But I do think it's interesting, back to the article, that Russia has claimed to have shot down a ball UFO. And I don't know, why would they say that? If it's true or not, could there be technology that's not alien, but actually of this world by some of the governments involved? And these are actually kind of like a drone technology that we have available by our military and intelligence groups.
Yeah.
Anyway, it still makes for an interesting story.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It is a cool story. I mean, you never know. Last couple of things before we get into our interview, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be doing a couple of conventions this year, 3 total conventions. By the time this airs, we would be doing the Dark Matters convention, where we're going to be with Archbishop Christina Rake talking about demons and exorcism. It's going to be live in front of people. Then we also have Spirits in the Spring, Nick Sarlo. He's going to be coming on here for an interview as well in the near future. And we're going to be putting on an episode about types of hauntings. And we're going to be at his thing called Spirits in the Spring on April 22nd. The Paranormal guys, Graveside Paranormal, will be out there with our table talking to people. And then we are going to be going to Mr. Troy Taylor's Haunted America Conference. I'm very excited about all these, but I'm more excited about this one here. We're going to be there for 2 days. June 23rd and 24th, we're going to set up our table. And this year, we're not really going to probably do any summertime tours. We're going to focus on trying to do a lot of tours in October. And we're going to try to get more media out there for the paranormal guys, try to get our name out there more. Yeah, we want to meet more people. So this year here is more conferences. We're going to probably add maybe another conference on for the year as well. We don't know yet, but that's what we're going to be doing with Graveside Paranormal and the Paranormal Guys podcast, which me and Steve are both very excited about, to go out and meet different people in different regions. Oh, yeah. Definitely. But without said, Steve, are you ready for our interview with Miss Pocos Blackhorn?
Yes, absolutely. Very interested in this subject.
Yeah. All right. With no further ado, let's talk about haunted dolls or haunted objects, boys and girls. Boo.
Attention, all lost souls. It's time to get into the shadows with Shell.
An Unholy Gift by Shell Ward. A porcelain face so fair and fine, but in its eyes there's a glint of malign. Its features are frozen, yet they seem to shift as if possessed by some unholy gift. It beckons you with its lifeless hand to a place where darkness rules the land. For in the night she comes alive, and from her lips eerie whispers thrive. She's been here for years, they say. Her presence grows stronger with each passing day. She moves occasionally without sound or touch, never to be seen when she crawls down from the hutch. No one knows the horrors she's seen, or the nightmares that make her scream. But in the stillness of the night, her haunting presence is such a fright. And though her beauty may deceive, her haunted soul may never leave. So beware, dear listeners, of dolls like she, for their past may come back to haunt thee.
And now, back to the Paranormal Guys podcast.
All right, we're back. We are back, and Steve, we are going to be talking about haunted dolls and true stories. I want to welcome in right now Pocos Blackhorn of the Facebook page Haunted Dolls and True Stories. Is that the correct page, Pocos?
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for coming on today. I appreciate
thanks
it.
for joining
I
us.
appreciate it very much. So let's get right into the business. How did you get into the paranormal or haunted dolls? What came first, the paranormal or haunted dolls afterwards, or kind of at the same time?
Kind of the same time. I grew up in a haunted house and tended to have lots of haunted items and dolls and things like that. And my guardian used to think I was absolutely insane when I would sit here and talk about them.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it was kind of like something I grew up around.
So tell us a little bit about that. What exactly happened?
Well, between seeing spirits around the house, things getting moved or taken or misplaced, and I get blamed for it, which was a common thing. One time I actually was upstairs and I was hanging up beads for my bedroom. Turn around and the whole pile of beads went missing. Couldn't find them damn things. 2 days later, I found them sitting on my bed and they were like not even there for like the whole freaking 2 days. I'm like, where the hell? What the hell? Like, yeah, that was like an everyday occurrence. Like something always went like that. Like I was like hanging them up and I was all excited because I like to walk through the beads. You know, they were hanging beads that you would walk through. I got half of them done, and the rest of them disappeared for 2 days, and then they just showed back up on my bed. I'm like, oh hell no, that's not cool, man.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not cool. So
Right.
I'm like having to sit here and like have arguments with the spirits, and they would sit there, and my guardian's like, who are you talking to? And I'm like, the ones that stole my beads. She says, you're crazy. And I'm like, okay, believe what you want, because I know what I just saw. This ain't correct. This not right, man.
That ain't right, boy.
That's not cool.
So, like on haunted dolls, so did you have a first haunted doll?
Yeah, it was a freaking puppet, like a hand puppet, like one of those with the strings. That thing scared the hell out of me.
What
I
happened?
sit there and I had it hanging in my closet because I play with it during the day, and then I'd hang it in the closet, and then at night you'd hear a clunk, and then you hear like the wood feet clunk, 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 clunk to the door, and then you hear knocking. And it started at midnight every freaking night. I'm like, oh no. And then every night it was getting louder and louder. It was like it was mad because I wouldn't let it out of the closet. And I was hiding under my blankets. I said, I ain't about to open that dang door. Oh no. Nope, it ain't happening. Nope.
How old were you? How old were you at that time?
About like 7.
7. Dear Lord.
Wow.
Dear Lord. So when you had the puppet, was it hung up or was it on the ground? Do you remember?
I had it. I hung it up. I
So
hung it up in my
it's kicking
closet,
the door possibly.
kicking it or knocking with its arms. So because the hands were porcelain and the feet were wood, and then like the centerpiece was wood, and then the face was porcelain, and the face and the hands were porcelain. The feet were wood, and the inside was a wood piece, and then it was like just material from there. It was like my guardian's daughter got it from Mexico when she went out there, and
Okay.
dang thing came in. It was haunted, and that thing scared me. And
Wow.
after that, I started getting used to the idea of different things. I threw it in the garbage. It was like a dang Ouija board. I threw that thing in the
Uh-oh.
garbage, and I'll tell you what, I was happy I didn't have to deal with it anymore. And then the garbage people were like two houses down. By the time I got home, it was sitting there on my bed. I'm
Get out of
like,
here.
I'm dead serious. I looked at my garden and I said, "Why did you take it out of the garbage can?" She goes, "Take what out of the garbage can?" I said, "Take this puppet out of the garbage can. This thing scares me." She goes, "I didn't touch it." She goes, I didn't even know you threw it away."
Huh.
I,
Wow. You know, you're
I'm
not the only one who's said that, about haunted objects or haunted dolls where like they tried to originally get rid of them. And the next thing I know, they're coming back inside their house and these things are either on the couch or the bed or whatever. That's weird, man.
Did
yeah.
did you ever get rid of it?
Well, I moved out of that house, so I assume that the
Oh.
entity that is in the doll is still in that house and is probably still there. And from what I understand, that address gets sold an awfully lot. People
Oh.
don't stay there very long.
Now is this
Um,
back in the you're originally from Oakland, right? Oakland
I
area?
grew up there, yeah.
Is that where it was, or is it where
That's
was this
where it
house?
was, yeah.
Oh.
90. It was 9654 South Merton,
Oh.
and people always like you would always hear that people never stayed there very very long time. I think the longest I've heard someone stay there was maybe 2 years, and that
Oh,
was the
wow.
longest anybody's ever stayed there. The spirits in that house, there were evil and there were good. It was like a mix of both. um the basement was very, it had like a demonic entity, and that damn thing scared the heck out of me. When I was a kid, I was in the basement. My guardian tended to like to lock me in the basement when she got mad at me. So I was like scared because I was playing down there, and all of a sudden I heard this like ha ha ha. I'm looking like what the heck, and I look and there was this black mass, and it kept like it was like coming at me, and it was like this deep laughter. And got so scared. I ran up the stairs. I'm banging on the door for her to let me out, and she told me to stop pretending. I literally sat on them stairs, with my head covered, like begging for her to open that door, and she wouldn't do it. Thankfully, nothing happened to me, but at the same time, dealing with things like that, I learned, hey, I'm not gonna stand down to you no more. I'm gonna stand up to you, and that's when they back off. I've noticed that with my situations when I've like actually, instead of being scared, stand up to him, say, "Look, I'm not scared of you. You might as well
Uh-huh.
back down because it ain't gonna work for me. I don't care if you throw knives at me. I don't care if you burn me. I don't care what you do because I'm not gonna take it." And they sit there and they basically look stumped at me, and then they disappear.
Oh,
Like
wow.
they didn't expect me to stand up to them, and that it's like a thing I actually had to learn how to do. It's not something I did overnight because anybody, especially a child at that age, is going to be scared when they see something coming at them that's like evil like that.
Mhm.
When I actually slept in the downstairs bedroom, not in the basement but downstairs bedroom, there was like pipes in the wall, in the closet. And every night, like since I was a little kid all the way up, you would hear knocking, and you'd hear like someone yelling, "Help me, help me." And there was times I went in the basement and I looked around, there was nobody there. So I'm not really sure exactly how that went down, or who got killed, or what the situation was. I was too little, and my senses weren't like as high as they are now. So I didn't really know exactly at that point. If I went back in the house now, I might be able to know a little bit more than
Mhm.
I did when I was a kid.
Right.
Um,
So
so
everything stayed at that house basically when you left. The entity and everything didn't like follow you. You never have that same experience somewhere else.
no, not with them. I've
Okay.
dealt with different spirits in different places. I have a thing for sage. I love
Hmm.
sage, and sage tends to scare off anything negative, whether it's a person or an entity. The smell of sage will make it go running.
Now,
Um,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
and that's what I tend to do. I like to sage my house. I like to sage myself. So evil never stays around very long. Not around me.
Now, were you able to find out, or in any way, shape, or form, of what inhabited the puppet, of like an identity?
I wasn't sure at that time because I was too little to understand it. But I do know upon research that I did, I went to the library before they hid all the books. And it did actually state in one book on the history of Oaklawn that it went from I think, like a swamp. Then, after the swamp dried up, they turned it into a cemetery. In which case, they said that when they turned it into the cemetery and they took everything out of there, they did not remove a lot of the bodies. They left them there. And then they built on top of them, which naturally is going to tick a lot of spirits off. A lot of, hey, you're messing with their body. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
They don't like it. So it was a lot of like messed up situations. And as I got older and I started realizing more and I started studying more and I started knowing a little bit more, and my like psychic abilities kicked in a heck of a lot more. I started realizing that, a lot of these spirits, they're not just lost spirits. They're walking the earth because they have to. It's not like they have a place they can go to. The only time that people assume that they're going to another place, or they're going to another dimension, or heaven or hell, or whatever people want to believe. Fact is, they get reincarnated. If there is not enough bodies for the spirits, they stay behind. If they want to be in a body like form, they can choose to be in a doll or some other um, item like that they may have been close to, that they may have really liked when they were alive. Back in the Victorian era, a lot of people would hear about Victorians, women loving their mirrors. Why in the heck
Hmm.
they liked mirrors, I have no idea. But they loved their dang mirrors. And their essence, when they died, their energies, their souls, whatever you want to say, was attached to that mirror because they liked it so much that they wanted to be with it, so be called. So
Hmm.
anybody messes with their things, a lot of bad things can happen. It depends on the spirit. Some are vengeful, some are like nonchalant, like, yeah, okay, whatever. And some are like, hey, you mess with my stuff, I'm gonna kill you.
Hmm.
I've seen like every instance. I actually have one doll that gives me an attitude all the time because she's like the living Grinch. She's just like, she's just crabby all the time. I swear, she's like an old lady that's crabby. And she hates when I call her a crab, but she is a crab.
Yeah. Now
How
let me
many?
ask you this:
Oh.
what causes most times a doll? Now you were talking about spirits can choose to go ahead and inhabit an object or a doll, but
Hmm.
isn't it also that either something traumatic happens to someone that their essence could inhabit inside of a doll?
Yes, they can do that too.
So it would have you come across a lot of that, or would you say more where there's more choice involved?
A lot of the situation is like they do tend to, when they die like tragic death, if there is a doll in the house or something like that, the soul tends to cling to that doll or enter the doll because they want a body. They want something to where they feel protected. They want somewhere they can run and not have to be like fearful. A lot of the cases with spirits, who have been murdered, well, the bodies who have been murdered, or some kind of tragic event, tends to lean more towards an object, a doll mostly, because dolls, they can actually move around and they can scare the heck out of people with them. Well, most people. I'm kind of a rare one. People, they still walk around and move around, and I just look and say, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" But a lot of people freak out. Like if a doll moves, they freak out. They're like, "Oh my god, this doll moved!" Oh, they just like totally freak out because they're not used to it. I'm used to it. Um, but yeah, that's the majority. Like they want somewhere where they feel safe. They want like when the soul is in a body, they feel safe. They're there. Sure, you have your modern fears when you're alive of, oh, being killed, or death, or not knowing what's on the other side. But spirits, they know what's on the other side, but they just want that security, so they tend to cling to objects, majorly dolls and things of that sort, stuffed animals. things like that. Kids tend to go more for like the stuffed animals or their Elmo dolls or something like that. Um, and
Now,
they're,
go ahead.
huh?
I was
And
going to
there
say
are,
now,
okay,
people
go ahead.
can also get put curses on dolls
Yes.
where a demon can inhabit it. Correct?
Well, the thing is, yeah, it can happen, yes, but Ouija boards are one of the biggest major issues because a Ouija board is a dimensional object. You play it, you're opening a dimension, and if there's any like stuffed animals, any kind of animals around, whatever essences come out of the Ouija board can take access to whatever's around it. So, like, I've actually even seen where a person, there was like I think 3 or 4 people, it was on YouTube, and they were playing the Ouija board and they had this like stuffed animal doll started moving around.
Hmm.
Well, it's like, well, duh. That's why people tell you don't mess with Ouija boards. Because unless you close those things properly, you're letting that stay open. It doesn't matter if you take that Ouija board out of that area. That dimension is going to be open in that area. You're not going to be able to close it unless you close it when you actually use the board. People don't know how to do that. They think it's a game, they think it's a joke. It's not a joke. It's very dangerous because when you're opening that dimension, majorly a lot of the evil will come out and it will cause harm upon the living, and that is a big issue. And that's the things that everybody ends up calling me about because it's like, hey, I can't deal with this. This demonic entity is attacking my kids. This demonic entity is attacking me. What do we do? I need help.
Right.
What
So
does a person do in a situation like that? Can you do an exorcism on a doll?
it's actually more of a situation where you find a doll and put the essence in the doll and bind it to the doll where it cannot do harm. Um, it's more of like kind of the opposite.
Oh,
Base
okay. So instead of releasing it, you're binding it.
correct. Because if
Hmm.
you bind it, it can't harm anybody. It's stuck. It gets mad. It does its little temper tantrums, but it can't actually harm you, as long as you bind it correctly.
Okay.
Um, so that's kind of what I end up having to do. Last year, I should say. Um, this one woman called me up at 12 o'clock. Said this like doll had this entity in it. They thought it was the grandfather because the grandfather passed. Turned out that there was two entities in there. One was the grandfather. One was an evil entity. That was not fun. But I ended up having to pull the grandfather out by distracting the evil in it and basically binding the evil to that doll and releasing the grandfather. Um, that was
Hmm.
not an easy task to do, but I did it. I still have the evil entity in my garage, as a matter of fact, salted down and binded to the doll, and he's not happy with me right now. But it knew what I could do. It caused a lot of issues. There was, you could hear it like saying, "Turn around, go home." It's like I ain't going home. Then,
Hmm.
like when I got down the right block, all the neighbors' lights, outside lights, turned on and started flickering like it was going to scare me away or something. That didn't scare me. I'm used
Hmm.
to that kind of stuff. It doesn't scare me. That thing's when I actually grabbed the doll, the thing burnt me. It felt like it stabbed me. It felt like it bit me. And you know what? I'm like, you really think that that's going to scare me away? I'm holding you prisoner in this doll. You're not getting out of this doll. I don't care what you do. And it got mad, but it knew that I wasn't going to stand down to it. Most
Right.
people, they go into a haunted place, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't say this, but it is funny. They go in there knowing what they're getting into, and then they sit there and have a conniption fit if they see a door open or they get scratched. And
Right.
then it's
No, you're
like,
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, you're absolutely right. You know that you're walking into a haunted environment, asshole. I messed up.
See, I told you he'd swear.
He told me I was going to do it.
I'll edit it out.
You walk into a haunted environment knowing that there's a possibility that certain things could happen, and then you freak out and you start running around like a child. Well, this is what you chose. This is what you chose to do. Like we go into haunted places all the time. We were just at one recently, and
Mhm.
we did some EVPs there, and we know what's going to be there. The minute that you see or hear something, you don't run off. If you're going to do the thing, you're in the wrong business, man.
Right. You,
Exactly.
you
There
know,
was like,
speaking of
hmm?
EVPs, have you ever taken like a recorder, like these, right, and put it next to one of those haunted dolls or items? Are you able to communicate and get
I
EVPs
can.
from?
I
Okay.
can. I'm a psychic medium, as people call me.
Hmm.
I can see the spirits. I can hear the spirits. I actually was haunted by one. Um, there was a girl out here named Naomi that was murdered. Um, at first, when she went missing, I seen her picture on a friend of mine's profile, and something rang me wrong about it. And I was like, "Is that woman like related to you?" She goes, "No, you know." She said she's missing. But the funny thing is that was the same woman that was going through my mind, messing with me every day. She told me how she died, where she died. She told me there's two people involved. She said one of which is a cop. They found the one guy, but for some reason, all of a sudden, the cop is not involved. Um, I found that very strange. I even seen like the woods where she was and everything, and it's like I don't really want to see this. I don't like
Hmm.
seeing these things. But a lot of the spirits they come to me, they want me to see these things. I don't want to see these things, but they want me to because they want my help. And it's like the thing is you can only bring justice to a situation like that if people actually are willing to help. When it comes
Hmm.
down to a cover up with police department, which I'm probably going to get in trouble if the cops ever hear me saying it, but it's the damn truth. When they try to cover up a cop's, bad behavior, that's not helping anybody. That's hurting people. That's harming the situation. People need justice. If they passed away, they were murdered, they need that justice. If there's two people involved, one happens to be a cop, the cop should be in jail too. It's the whole thing with, oh, let's just get one person and let's brush this under the rug. Well, if they did it with one person, they're going to do it with somebody else.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that
You
110.
know, they need to be in just as much. Just because they have a badge, they should not have leeway for their behaviors. Um, I'm not even going to go into cops because there's a lot of things that's just.
You know what? Speaking of cops, okay. So we're going to bring up a subject that me and Pocos talked about.
Okay.
It's just because you brought up this subject. Uh, she sent me this picture of a car. Steve, don't pull it up yet.
Okay.
Of this car. What was that? A red Firebird? Was that a red Firebird?
Yes, my car, yeah, my red Firebird.
Yeah. All right. So she had a red Firebird. I don't know if you still have it. And
Oh, I
in the
still have it.
picture, yeah, and in the picture, you're going to see what looks like to be a child inside this Firebird. And the police used to come up to your house or wherever you were at and knock on the door and say, "Hey, you're leaving a child inside the car." And you were like, "I don't have a child inside the car." And Steve,
Hmm.
so show this picture, and then after you show the picture, I want you to explain everything that you explained to me. Steve, can you show the picture at this time,
All
please?
right. Here we go.
So in this picture here, you're going to see if you're looking at the screen, you're going to see it on your left hand side. What looks like to be almost like a girl, a small little girl inside of this vehicle, of this Firebird. Now, is this the original one, Steve, or the one that I sent you?
So here's the original.
That's the original one. Okay. And you can totally see inside that what looks like. Now, people will probably say, hey, that's pareidolia. It might be the clouds outside or this and that. And okay, you might be right. But the only thing that changes pareidolia for me is distinct. When something is distinct, when you start seeing, like, take for instance, what looks like to be the face, it looks like a round face. And in the middle, there's a nose and there's a mouth
Like two little arms.
and two little arms that are proportionate with each other, a
Uh-huh.
face that is proportionate, and it looks like hair on top. Now, everybody, you can choose at the end of what you believe or don't believe, and that's all
I
fine and
don't think
good.
it's looks like a little girl. It looks like a doll. Now that we're talking about
Yeah,
dolls.
actually, it kind of does look like a doll.
Yeah.
I've
So
had people say that. I've had
yeah.
people say
So go
that it
ahead,
looks like a
Pocos.
doll, but it's not. It's not a doll.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, as I've argued on paranormal groups about this before, that is not a doll.
Okay.
First of all, if I don't have a doll that big, first off, That would
Mhm.
be a pretty damn big doll. That would be
Right.
like an oversized Annabelle doll or something. Okay, I don't have a doll like that at the time. As a matter of fact, I didn't have any dolls at that time.
Mhm.
The only reason I was able to get this photo was by accident. I saw a bird on top of my car. I thought it was really cool because I never see a bird land on my car. As a matter of fact, I see animals and everything go as far away from my car as possible. So for the
Right.
bird to land on my car, I thought was cool. So I took a picture, and that's what turned out. It was a lot of spiritual essence. It's a whole family that died in that car. The little girl that you see actually told me, well, showed me what happened to her, and it scared the living crap out of me. I do believe she clinged to this car, according to what I was understanding from her, is that because she likes the color of the car, she likes the car, and it was the kind of car that her family died in, so her whole family connected to this car. The people that sold the car to me had it behind a shed for over 2 years,
Mhm.
and they wouldn't go in it, they wouldn't drive it, they wouldn't go near it. She was sitting there saying, "Oh, it wasn't haunted." It's like, it wasn't haunted, huh? Then why was it behind a shed, like for
Mhm.
2 years in the dirt? If there was nothing wrong with it, the
Right.
car started, it ran, it drove, it did everything it was supposed to do. The radio does what it wants to a lot of times, and I'm sorry, but it is
Uh,
funny. The radio even cracks me up because it's like I'll be sitting here and I'll turn the stations and I find a music I like. And well, if she decides she doesn't like the song, she'll turn it to freaking country or something I can't stand to listen to. And I
Right.
hate country. And me and her had a freaking full out argument about country music. And she's like, "Well, I like this song." I said, "Well, I don't like this song, and it's my car." She goes, "Well, I'm in this car before you were." I said, "Well, that's besides the damn point." I
So
said, "I
you
don't
hear
want."
her. You hear her.
Yes, I hear her and I see her, and she's just like, she drives me nuts. She's locked me in and out of my car. She thinks it's funny. I was getting gas one time. She locks me out of the car, so I called my car Herbie. I sit there and she's like, she locks me out of the car, and then it's manual locks, mind you, and I'm sitting here talking to my car. This guy is getting gas, and he's looking at me like I've lost my mind, and I'm sitting here like, "All right, Herbie, open the door, Herbie, I'm not playing with you, open the door." Next thing you know, the door opens by itself. This dude I've never seen get in his car so fast, truck I should
Mhm.
say, and take off out of the gas station. I'm like, man, I hope he paid for his gas. He
Now, what's the name of
literally
this girl? What's this girl's name? Do you have her name?
She never told me her name yet, but she
Okay.
had
Really?
shown me a vision while I was behind the wheel going from point A to point B. We were down this like country road, and she decides at 6 o'clock in the morning to flash me back to what happened to her while I'm behind the wheel, mind you. She had
Mm.
me see the semi truck. Her and her mom was singing and they were having a good time. There was a baby boy in the back seat, in the car seat, and all of a sudden the semi truck was coming towards them, and all I heard her say was, "Mommy, look!" And then by that time, it was too late. I remember pulling over to the side of the road. I was paranoid. My heart was racing. My hands were shaking. I was literally sitting there for a good 15 minutes just to try to calm down from what I saw. It scared me that bad. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, "Oh my God." Because I actually thought there was a truck in front of me. And when I
Okay.
actually came to, there was nothing on that road. Nothing. I'm just like, "Okay, this is not cool." I said, "You couldn't tell me this while I was sitting in the house. You had to wait while I was actually going down the road."
Hmm.
And then
Now,
she was
So,
messing with me because she made my car turn off. And like, I was actually in the car, and the whole electrical system went out when I hit this one area. And then my car was done. Like,
yeah.
there was nothing. I almost got hit by a semi, well, not a semi, but a bus. And then the
mhm.
freaking two people behind me, they jumped out and pushed my car over to the side. It's like, man, why you torture me like this? Stop. You know?
So this girl has kind of taken possession of the car in a
Yeah.
sense of like how Dow might be taken control of. But the
Right.
difference is that you can actually see and talk to her,
Hmm.
right?
I can
Are
see and
you
talk
able
to
to
the other
see?
ones too.
That's what I was going to ask, is if you can see and talk to the actual entities within a doll.
Yeah,
It's a
I can.
same thing.
Hmm.
Okay.
See, what
Now,
I do
what's
is I basically look at the doll and like look at the eyes, and it'll tell me if there's like something there. If there's
Okay.
not, then it's not. But if there is, then I usually try to talk to it.
Now
Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't.
I notice on your Facebook page that a lot of people send you pictures of
Mm.
dolls.
Hmm.
So are you communicating with these people, letting them know if these dolls are haunted?
Yes.
Are they looking for help? What's going on?
Most of them ask me about if they're haunted. And I do tell them what the stories is that the spirits tell me. Sometimes the spirits don't want to tell me anything, and I'd be honest. I'm like, yeah, they're there, but they're not telling me anything. I do get the vibes off of them. I know what kind of vibes they have, and basically if they're good or bad just by the vibe they sent out.
Yeah.
So I can at least give them that information if they don't tell me anything that's going on. Because there are some of the dolls, the spirits that don't want to talk. They just want to sit here and look at me like I'm stupid. So I basically go off the vibes that they send out, and then I can kind of, give or take on what kind of entity they are.
And you can get that all from a picture, right? From just
Yes.
seeing a picture.
Mhm.
Neil and I, we believe that we may be in possession of a haunted doll. Would we need to send you a picture of that? Like, would you be able to tell from that,
Yeah.
or are you able to like talk to us? And I don't know how it works, but like,
See, like
can
at the
you?
beginning of this broadcast, we were actually the news part of this. We were
Yeah.
talking about the haunted doll. What we do is when we do our ghost tours, we what I would do is I would go to like a Savers. You know what a Savers is, right? It's where you buy like secondhand stuff.
Oh,
And so I
yeah.
would go in there and I would buy prop stuff of dolls. Okay, I was going in there and buying props for our bus just for shock and awe.
Right.
And lo and behold, me and my wife, we may have probably purchased something that might be truly haunted because people started having obsession with the doll. And that's one of the
Mhm.
things that happens with haunted dolls, isn't it? Obsession.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when they get obsessed with these things, they take them everywhere they go. They cannot put them down. Am I correct?
Sometimes. It all depends on the situation and the doll's entity or the spirit that's possessing the doll. Some of the dolls do tend to cling to specific people because, whatever the reason is, they tend to like those people. Kind of like when you go out and you meet somebody and you're like,
Mhm.
you got a vibe about that person. Oh, I don't like this person because I don't know why. I don't know this person. I just don't. I got a bad vibe about him. Kind of like that. Some people, you can just look at them and say, hey, I like this person. I don't know why in the heck I like this person, but I like this person. I'm going to find out why.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Makes
It's
sense.
and you got to remember, with spirits, yes, they have more energy. Yes, they have more abilities to do things on the power end than humans generally do. Some of us have gifts. Some of us can do things that most people cannot do. Um, I'm one of those people. But then again, by blood, I am a shaman. So then
Mhm.
again, that's a whole nother story. But a lot of these spirits, just like with people, they either cling to you or they despise you. Some
And
of
what?
them like iffy.
And you were saying the way that you got rid of that one original doll, you did what again? You salted it.
Or you just left it, right?
Well, when it comes to binding dolls,
Oh.
you
Binding.
basically have to concentrate and tell them you have to stay in this doll. You're not allowed to leave it. And then you have to salt around it because evil cannot pass salt.
Okay.
They say it's because it's a very like pure like thing. And that's why they can't.
So don't burn them. Don't
No,
burn them.
never burn them. Never, ever burn an evil doll. Because then what you're doing, if you burn that doll, you're releasing what's in it, and then it's going to be able to walk the earth.
And it might just try to find another host.
Right.
And it
That,
can,
or it's going to give you hell, and it can kill you by just walking inside the place.
oh, really? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Depending on the situation, like there are situations where people burn these really evil ones, and if somebody enters that area ever again, they either get sick, there's some kind of issue, or they can even get killed.
Wow.
I've heard of haunted woods, for instance, like where these entities, people go in and they never are seen again, and then they see like people walking around that looks like people that were missing, but they can't actually get to the person because the person just disappears. Well, that whole woods could have been a demonic situation. It could have been a situation where there was a lot of evil that was in there, and people could have taken demonic dolls or demonic items because they were scared of them and burned them. Says, oh well, if I burn them, it's going to get rid of this. No, it ain't. No,
Now,
it ain't.
are
That's
there
going to make
certain
it
dolls
worse.
that are there certain dolls that are benevolent? As
Some.
in, yeah.
All entities are different. That's why you really got to be careful. Like when you get stuff off of eBay, some people scam you. Some people sell these evil dolls and evil things. I had a sword that was evil and I got off of eBay. But the guy was telling me, oh, it's not that bad. It just does knocking on the doors and everything. But he must have got them mixed up because the one that he sent me growled, scratched the hell out of my door. And I actually had like marks on the door thing, like it was trying to scratch its way in.
Hold on,
Um,
let me stop you. You're saying a sword?
mm-hmm.
A sword.
Yeah.
All right. No, I understand that all objects can be haunted, and this thing was scratching on the door and stuff like this. Geez, you're lucky you didn't wake up and find it in your gut.
Well, I kept it in the garage. So, but I will say that it did cut one of the haunted dolls' heads off.
Oh wow.
Oh Lord.
It was just straight out like I had a bunch of dolls in there, but like not even they could take on this entity because it was so strong. I got ticked off. I said, you know what? You want to play these games? I binded it. So basically, at that point, it was ticked off. So the spirit couldn't do no harm. So it would just sit here and walk around and give me dirty looks every day. I'm like, well, you can give me dirty looks all you want. It ain't gonna get nowhere.
Yeah.
So I decided to send it to the Haunted Museum in Pennsylvania.
So
And
yeah.
they told me that they actually had to put it into a secluded room to test it to make sure it was even safe to be around people.
Is that the same museum where they put that Mandy doll?
Might have been. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly what ones they have there, but I
Yeah.
did
You know
set
what?
it there.
One thing I wanted to tell you. Well, actually, tell Steve is. Did you know, Steve? You probably don't. Is that haunted dolls is a huge thing on eBay? It is
Yeah.
huge.
I was
I
going to
mean,
ask about that because I did hear about that, Neil. And I understand like binding them and not burning them is a better way of dealing with it. But what I understood was that some people they try to get rid of it by selling it, right? That's another way, and eBay's one way to do it.
And they do it, and
so
see, that's where people. That's what I hate when people do that because people sit here and they're selling these evil entities on there, not caring that they're bringing the entity to somebody else that may not know what they're doing.
Right.
And that can endanger the person's life, if not kill that person. And then they're basically their blood is on that person's hands because they're the ones, instead of using, they need to use common sense. They need
Hmm.
to take, if it's something that bad that you feel that you can't control, it's that scary and all that, you need to put it into a haunted museum. These people have experience, they know what they're doing. I know what I'm
Mm.
doing, but certain things I won't have around here because I do got to protect my family. But at the same time, I'll be danged if people, are going to sit there and like hurt other people. I mean, I've had people say it in the description, oh yeah, well, we think this is evil just because it sits there and knocks on the wall. Well, where do you have it at? Oh, it's in the
Hmm.
closet behind a closed door. Well, that's why it's knocking. It don't want to be
Hmm.
locked up in a room. It wants to see everything. It wants to
Hmm.
be up and be able to look around. As a
Hmm.
matter of fact, I got my son a doll. Her name was Kana, and she's a Japanese doll. And he was telling me that when him and his ex were together, his ex turned the doll around facing the wall, and he said that it would pound on the wall or on the door or something, and he thought it was his sister wanting to come in the room, and it wasn't. Finally he realized that it was facing the wall, so he turned it
Hmm.
around and he didn't have an issue after that. But the doll did mess with his ex's mind because she would go to sleep and hear Halloween music. he
Hmm.
said he said that she would wake him up and sit here and cry and whine to him. Oh man, did you hear that? Did you hear the Halloween music? Oh my
Hmm.
God, there's Halloween music. And he's like, what are you talking about? There's no Halloween music. It's just
Wow, that now that's nuts.
Yeah.
You start hearing
and
this is Halloween, Halloween, Halloween.
Halloween music. And I was laughing because like I've had dolls try to mess with me, try to scare me, not with Halloween music, but I have one. She looks like a porcelain Barbie doll.
Mhm.
But she basically tried to scare me by telling me what she could do.
Hmm.
If her and the other ones are brought together, she was telling me in my mind while I was sleeping that basically it could be the end of the world. If she liked you, you'd be spared. If not, everybody's dead. It's like,
Hmm.
well, damn. I guess I'm not bringing you two together then. If I find your other one, I'm going to put it over here. You're going to go over there, and you're both going to be binded with salt because you ain't getting together. Mm-mm. You ain't killing no dang buddy. You guys are crazy. But when I
let, me,
didn't scare, when
let me
she
ask you
didn't
this
scare me.
question. Now, everybody knows about the famous Annabelle doll.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm,
How do you feel? Have you ever really ever seen it, or through? Of course, you've seen it through the original one, the Raggedy Ann doll, through pictures.
mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that one? What do you get from it?
Well, I have a doll similar to it actually, and she hasn't really killed anybody, but she's one that doesn't take no crap either. She has been known to like throw things. She has been known to, if she doesn't like you, she would sit here and like make the TV go crazy and not let it work. She's one that's like if she's mad, she'll come in the house, which found out it was a male soul in that one. But yeah, that could be the reason why he was mad because I was calling him a female. I kept
Oh,
calling him
yeah.
Annabelle, and he sat there and he's like, "I'm not Annabelle," and it's like, well, dang. And then next thing you know, there's like all kinds of problems. Hey, Val.
Well, you got a cat.
No, that's my little man.
Oh,
Oh,
hey there.
I think you had a cat. Sorry.
Well, I have two cats and I have two dogs.
Oh, okay.
One of my
Do they?
dogs is a living joke because she's actually 24, so we all laugh and say, "Oh, she's immortal. She ain't gonna die." Yeah,
Wow, 24.
yeah,
Wow, that's amazing. Do they interact with like the dolls and stuff? Do they have a sense of which
yes they do.
objects are haunted
Yes
and
they
which
do.
are not?
Yes they
Which
do.
one do you think is better at it, the cat or the dog?
The cat
Cats or the dog?
runs. You know,
Cat
they
runs.
it cracks me up because you would in like Egyptian astrology or not astrology, but Egyptian beliefs they say, "Oh, cats are the gateway to the underworld." Yeah,
Hmm.
right. That's why these two cats see something that's like got a little anger issue and it runs the other direction.
So they're like
Yeah.
fraidy
That's
cats.
yeah. My dogs, on the other hand, if it's a negative entity, they'll look at it and they'll run. But if
Okay.
Okay.
it's like a positive one, like Kalen, I have one that's name is Kalen,
Hmm.
and I got him off of eBay, and he's a protector. And the way he died was pretty rough. He turned around and apparently he was on the res. He was a peacekeeper. There were some people up there that didn't like that and tortured and murdered his kids and his wife, and then tortured him to death. So he had it pretty rough.
Hmm.
But he has been very protective, and I had him sitting on the couch one day, and then my dog Apache decided to go and lay on top of him. I said, "No, you can't lay on top of him. Wait, you
Hmm.
can't do that." So like she really likes him, and she's really good at like telling the difference between them too. Like if she likes them, then they're good. If
Right.
they don't like them, they kind of just look back, and like you'll see videos on YouTube about it. Like if you look up animals and stuff and how they react to haunted things, some will back off and kind of like be iffy about it, and those are the ones
Right.
you got to look out for. Those are the spirits you got to look out for. But generally, if they like the spirit's a good entity, there won't be an issue. Hell, you probably
Mhm.
won't even know it's there until it sits there and like shows itself in
Yeah.
whatever way it wants to. I don't know, hiding things. Some of them thinks it's funny. I have one doll that actually the spirit thinks it's hilarious to open the door at night. She thinks it's the most hilarious thing ever. I have
Oh, really?
everything locked up. Yeah, I have everything locked up. And what does she do? She unlocks the doors and opens the doors. And then all you hear is hee 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 hee. I'm like, that ain't funny.
Huh.
I'm
Well,
like,
let
that
me
ain't
ask you
funny.
this: if out of the people that you meet over your Facebook page, what would you like to tell anybody that come across what they believe is a haunted doll? What would be the best thing for them to do? Should they reach out to someone like you to ask those questions to find out? What would be the message that you would want to give to somebody if they come across something that they believe is haunted?
I would definitely say to contact someone like me. Not a paranormal investigator, a paranormal expert. And I know a lot of people don't consider themselves paranormal experts, but the way I look at it is paranormal investigators are out to sit there and prove things to themselves. I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, they may have experience by going to different places, seeing different things, but an actual expert knows what they're dealing with. Whether it's, a haunted museum, they got a bunch of like experts up there. Me, I'm a psychic medium, so I can actually look at there and tell what's what, if it's something to be fearful of, something not to be. um that's why a lot of people go to me and they
Mhm.
ask me what I feel from it. As a matter of fact, there's one guy on there and he goes to me all the time. He's always getting, I swear to God, this boy, I don't know where he puts them all. I don't know where he puts them all. He says, "Oh, guess what? Look at all the ones I got. Are they haunted?"
Really?
I'm like, you're supposed to ask me that ahead of time. And then he started going to like thrift stores and showing me pictures of grabs. I said, can you at least like do two at a time? So I don't have a bunch of vibes from all the dolls at once. Because if
Yeah.
they're haunted, I just like, I'm trying to pinpoint which one's which here. And to do that, it's easier if there's like one or two in a picture, not like 500. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, I get it. So the best way to probably reach out to you then is through the Facebook page, because that's actually how you and I met. What I
right.
do is to find guests on our show and stuff like that. I use Facebook, TikTok, all the social media things, and I came across yours, and so because I saw you were the administrator on yours, so that's how I
Mhm.
reached out to you. So if you want to give a free shout out for yourself of how to reach you, but please don't give any phone numbers that are personal or anything like that. If you have anything like an email that you would like people to send you to or your Facebook page, please let us know at this time.
Okay, it's Pocos Blackhorn. That's what I'm under on Facebook. Or my email is pocosblackhorn@yahoo.com, all lowercase.
All right, we're
So,
going to make sure that we put this up there for you.
Right.
And then you can do because your Facebook page is Haunted Dolls and True Stories, correct?
yes.
All right. Yeah, I came across yours and I saw that that you're doing kind of like a service for people as well. So I always
Right.
want to say, hey, you're doing a great job when people do that. Trying to help out people. That's always a very good thing to do.
Mhm.
Pocos, I want to say thank you very much for coming on today. I really do appreciate that. You came on. I got in contact with you this morning. You go, hey, I just woke up. I got So
Yeah.
I said, all right, then get with it. You probably had to have your first 2 or 3 cups of coffee. Da da da. Get your
No,
day
actually, I
started.
don't. I don't drink coffee. I wake up and the spirits must have been messing with me because they didn't want me on here. I don't know,
Oh.
because I had a migraine headache like last night and today, and it's like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm getting on there whether you guys like it or not. And then my headache started going away. I'm like, yeah, you keep messing with me. Keep messing with me.
Steve, do you have any other questions for Pocos before we call it an end?
No, this has been incredibly interesting, and
Yeah,
I'm really
you did
glad that
really
we had
good
you on.
job. I have to say, you
Yeah,
did a great job.
If
Yeah.
anybody
absolutely.
needs like I'll go locally because I don't have no like amount of money or anything to point. But like locally, I can actually help people go to their house if they are having demonic entity issues, or things like that. I do try to help people, that contact me from afar as well if I can. I'll like try to put together some like stuff for them to basically push away the evil and try to protect people. I'm still working on this one girl's case. I'm trying to get everything I need to send to her, because there is an evil entity in her house actually attacking her kid. There were scratch marks all over this poor kid. So I'm working on trying to help her if I can get what
Good,
I
good,
can to
good,
get that out to her.
good, good, good. Yeah.
But I don't ask for any money unless, I'm like having to buy things. That's the only thing I'll ever ask for them. Or like if people choose to, I would never push it. But if people choose to like donate, that'd be awesome too. Because then once I get enough donations and stuff, I might be able to go in different areas and in different places and be able to do more for more people. Because being there, in face to face is probably easier, not for the spirits because they get mad as hell because they know what I can do, but
Right.
for them because they'll have more of a sense of, okay, you're here. I feel more safe now. I feel more confident, and then I'll do what I can to get rid of it. Sometimes I may take like things with me, like dolls or whatnot, to where I can actually bind them into the doll to where then they don't have to deal with that anymore. But I can't do that from afar. I have to
Right.
actually be there to do it.
Right.
But
Well, once again,
just don't
Pocos,
want-
thanks for coming on. I do
Yes.
appreciate it. You were listening to Miss Pocos Blackhorn with Haunted Dolls and True Stories off of Facebook. And this is Steve. So goodbye, Steve.
Goodbye, Steve. No, goodbye,
And
everybody.
as always, boys and girls, boo.